Hey y'all, welcome back to the Laid Back Homestead. I'm Crystal, and this week we're prepping the garden beds for planting out. As you can see, my seedlings have completely taken over every inch of space on my patio, but I can't plant out just yet because we are expecting another cold front, and we're supposed to be getting down into the 30s, which is way too cold for all of these beautiful tomatoes and peppers. So I'll show you what I'm gonna do to protect the plants I already took a gamble on and put in my beds, how I prepare my beds for planting, which we should be able to do by next week. Next week, all of these should be in their permanent homes. And I'll show you how I manage all of these seedlings to make sure everybody's getting enough light and care while we're in this phase of waiting. So I have some very tall plants that really need to get into the ground. And some varieties are really outgrowing others. The speckled Roman doing amazing. Fiji Improved is another variety that I've had doing really well. So the biggest issue I'm running into right now is simply lack of space. I have this shelving unit and it has worked great, but the problem is my seedlings are actually growing too fast. By this point, they would have already been planted out in years past. I need to figure out a way so that everything gets some sunlight, because right now the ones in the back, you can see, are shaded and it's noon. So this would be the time of day where they would be getting the most sun. So after taking the time to review my 2-week forecast, I realized that we're actually supposed to be getting into the low 40s tonight. So the first thing I'm going to do is pick up my peppers and put them in the greenhouse under grow lights. And that should free up some space because my peppers are already a little bit delayed. If you know, I had germination issues several weeks back, but they're playing catch up. And the last thing they need is to be sitting out in 40-degree temperatures. So step one, let's get them picked up. Now you can see I have many projects going on in here. So much is happening. I'm always succession sowing, so there's always things growing in this greenhouse. But right now, the space is needed for the peppers. All right, all of the peppers are tucked in the greenhouse. They will stay nice and warm. And you can see all the flowers we started. They are ready to go out. So some of these I may put out this weekend. So after hemming and hawing about it, I think the best thing I can do is make sure that all of my super tall plants make their way to the tables and maybe my shorter varieties get tucked away. This is definitely a batch. We've got Gilberti, Cherokee Carbon, Red Pride. These guys are looking amazing. This is classic beefsteaks. Ooh, red sausage. It's looking really good as well. All right, last tray rotated out. Literally every square inch is taken up by these plants. So tonight, being in the 40s, our tomatoes really should be fine. They should be able to handle it. They won't love it. I may put some in my greenhouse as just backup protection in case something goes wrong. But for the most part, they should be fine. The night that we actually get into the 30s, I will put everybody up that I can, because not everybody fits in there anymore because we've outgrown that space. So it's kind of a gamble either way, but I will try to have some backup plants. And I recommend if you live in a colder climate and you plant out early, that you do the same. Always have some level of backup, whether it's just more seeds started, depending on how long your season is, or backup plants. You just want to have some level of reassurance. Tarping this whole garden is a two-man job, and it's really just a pain. Now, we've done it for years, and if I had the whole garden planted out, I most certainly would do it. But because I only have a handful of plants that will be bothered by these temperatures, I'm not gonna bother. So this is really the only garden bed that I'm worried about. You can see we're getting quite breezy here as we are expecting rain. And this particular bed, the only thing I'm truly concerned with protecting is the peppers. So I don't know if you can tell or not, but the tomatoes are really too big to protect. So all I will do here is go through, I already have written down everything I have planted, all the varieties I have planted out, and I will make sure I have backups of those in my greenhouse. If you've been following along, you know I started over 40 varieties of tomatoes and I have well over 100 plants across those 40 varieties. So if I do lose somebody, I will make sure that I have a backup. All I'm going to use for the peppers is a cut up juice jug. And I'm just simply going to cloche it down on top of it, just like that. Now, again, I have backups of these in my greenhouse, and I'm not putting these on right now because the cold front hasn't come through. It's coming through tonight, and it is 80 degrees outside. So if I put this on now, I'm gonna cook these plants the rest of the day because we still have several more hours of those very warm temperatures, despite the wind trying to blow us off of here. But all that to say, this is all I'm gonna use for this. And this should work fine to get them through that little bit of a cold snap. A couple hours here. Make sure you pull it off during the day if your highs are going to be over 50, which ours will be. So I will have to be diligent to come out, cover, and uncover. But again, the payoff is this bed will be producing before any of my others. So it's worth it. These have only been planted out a couple of days. Remember I showed y'all how puny those pepper plants looked. I swear everything in here has already grown. Now, as of right now, I don't have a way to protect these guys. I do, as I've mentioned with the other bed, have backups of these that I will make sure go into my greenhouse. Now, in my hydroponic video, we discussed ways of season extension with the hydroponic system. And in a perfect world, we would not be getting this late cold snap. I plan in the fall to buy an aquarium heater for like a fish aquarium and to put it inside of the reservoir. Thank you to King's Yard for sponsoring this video. If you are looking to protect your garden from birds this season, I suggest hanging a bird feeder and setting up a bird bath on the opposite end of your yard. And they have been kind enough to offer our viewers a 20% off discount code. And I'll have the link to King's Yard's Amazon store and the coupon code in the description box below. Now you may be wondering, why don't I just pick everybody up that will fit in the greenhouse and leave it at that? But that's because my plants really do need to be out in this breeze. Where I live, it stays with almost a constant breeze, and sometimes even stronger winds will roll through here. So one of the best things I can do for my tomato plants, make sure my tomatoes have sturdy stems to be able to handle the wind we get in my yard. I like to have them out in the breeze as much as possible because my plants will have to be able to withstand not only our constant breeze here, but sometimes tropical weather as well. Now, because my plants are so big, and honestly too big for their cups at this point, it is important that you keep feeding them. I don't want to stunt them by having them run out of basically nutrients to keep them going through this. So I just come in with a cup of my diluted Masterblend fertilizer and I pour it in the bottom of these trays because I do the double cup method, and the trays will equally distribute the fertilizer to all of the roots that are there. You can see all the healthy roots that are in the system. And just pour it in the bottom wells. And the beauty of these trays is that you really can't overwater your plants because they have drainage holes in each of the four corners. So if you happen to go a little too hard with your hose or with whatever you're putting in there, it's going to drain out for you. So I can't plant in my garden, which is a bummer. But what I can do is I can amend these beds and have them ready for when we plant out next week. And added benefit, we're going to get some rain with this front. So it'll have time for things to kind of settle down and water in the amendments that I put in. So the way that I amend my beds couldn't be any easier. I could make 2 rows in the bed because I know I'm going to be planting 9 plants in here, roughly following the square foot garden method. And I go in first with wood ash. Now, I know everybody's got their own opinions about wood ash, but I use a little bit every year. I mean, I'm not going crazy with it. Next, I go in with some granular fertilizer, and I put that right on top of the wood ash. And the reason I do it this way is because the wood ash is so light, it wants to blow around. So I put these granulars on it as a way to kind of weigh it all down. And the last thing I go in with is some alfalfa pellets, a little extra nitrogen. And I put this on top of everything because this is going to absorb all the rainwater, and the pellets kind of puff up, if you will, and they will form basically a nice crust over everything else and just kind of keeps it all in its spot. And that's it. I consider this bed done until planting day. Now I have chopped and drop other things that were growing in here already, and I compost in place. So there is, as you can see, baby plants, particles underneath there. And then we have a volunteer zinnia that popped up. Isn't that cute? So there are multi-layers to this garden bed. That's why I don't have to add as many amendments. So it's all done. Got all the beds prepped. The seedlings are huge. Now we're just waiting on the weather. But judging by our forecast, we are in the clear next week. So all of those plants you saw earlier will be getting planted out. I'm truly hoping to get a couple 100 pounds of food out of this small backyard garden this year. I'm very excited. It's going to be my biggest year yet. That I can promise. So if you found this video helpful, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see how this garden progresses throughout the season, I encourage you to subscribe. And until next time, stay blessed.